Alright, welcome back to Ken O'Connor Racing. I got a couple minutes here and I'm doing it. I had the camera and the tripod here, so I figured I'd just let you guys see what we're doing. What I have is I got a freshly bored cylinder. Whether you get it bored here or anybody else, it doesn't matter. This all pertains to the same thing. I'm going to show you how to at least clean this thing. Big misconceptions cleaning cylinders. You think if you shoot a can of carburetor to clean it down here, it's done. It's not. Inside of your cylinder, after it's homed, is what we call peaks and valleys. In other words, microscopically, it looks like this. There's dirt inside of all of this. This has to be cleaned. The best way to do this, the only way to do this, is with water, and I use Dawn dishwashing liquid. It's really good, cuts grease, and it lifts a lot of this out. So I prep the paper towel. It's wet. This is my dishwashing liquid. I'm going to take this and fold it over. Because when they hone, it goes around in a circle. You don't want to go up and down. That's not going to clean this cylinder. You want to go in a circular motion. So this thing looks pretty clean, but I'm going to show you it's not. It's not even close. Take it and just wipe it. Circular motion, just like this. This destroys engines. Looks like nothing. That will destroy your rings in no time flat. Same thing on this side. This was cleaned with brake cleaner, about a half a can right before I painted it, and I actually shot in there just to see what it was going to do. That's left in your motor if that's what you're doing. This will wipe your rings out. Alright, I went around once. I'm going to do it again, and all I do is just take a little Dawn, put it in here, move it around. Your cylinder's clean when it comes out and it looks like this. When all the dirt is removed, and not until, that's a clean cylinder. Still got a little residual dirt right in here. I'm going to take a dry towel next. Nice and clean. That's all there is to it. That's how you clean your cylinder. Okay, I've seen this more times than I even want to recall, but unfortunately some people, when they do their own top ends, they put their piston in backwards. This is pretty simple. You want these portholes to be in the back, not the front of the motor. The other thing is there's a little pin in here. I don't know how close you can see it on the camera, but there's a pin here and there's a pin here on this side of the piston. Your ring gaps have to be in that pin. These rings, that one right here, these rings are relieved right here and here. If they're not aligned with that pin, this part of the ring is going to ride over that pin, and you're going to smoke your rings, you're going to do cylinder damage and all kinds of other things. So this is how you want to line it up. I already went ahead, I put my pin in, I put my clips. Another important thing, and you can get all this information on my website, KenO'ConnorRacing.com. When you put these pins, when you put these clips in, face them up or down. You don't want them this way. You have to think about the speed that this piston is turning at, and inertia alone, there's a lot greater possibility that that clip will fail if it's open this way or this way, just because of the force and the speed at which it's moving and the time that it stops. This can actually pop up and pop out on you, so you want that gap either straight up or straight down. Okay, we're getting ready to assemble the top end. I got the rings all lined up with the pins. They're going to move. You're going to have to check them constantly, so I'm going to get some two-stroke oil on here. You don't need a lot of this. You just got to cover it. It's 10 times more oil than this piston's ever going to see in its life when it's running anyway. Just kind of push the rings out and get a little bit on them. Alright, we're done. We're ready to put a cylinder on. Okay, got my piston all oiled up. Next thing I'm going to do is come in here and rub some oil in here. And that's it. You got a nice film of oil on it. One thing I want to point out, maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the block and the cylinder, they have these pins. I call them gudgeon pins. I think that's what you call them, but they're only on one side. And your gasket is only going to accept them from one side. In other words, you can't flip this gasket and put it on the other way. That'll give you an air leak all day long. So make sure when you put your gasket on, you put it on the proper way with the big holes going over here. This is a Vito's gasket. But now I'm just going to slip the cylinder on real quick. This is the back of your cylinder. This is where your intake goes. And I'm just going to take my rings, get them lined up in the pin. I'm going to squeeze. Drop it right on there, holding the cylinder at the top. Just come right up, go right back down. I know those rings are lined up. If those rings aren't lined up, you're going to have a problem, but that's basically how we do a top end. I'm not going to bore you with tightening these. Use a torque wrench. I think it's 20 foot-pounds. I'm going to put the studs in the top and put the cylinder head on. I may or may not go farther with this video, but that's the proper way to do a top end. Cleanliness is everything on these things. Make sure everything is clean. Get all the junk out of the peaks and valleys. Put a light coat of oil on it. I lap the top of this. A little bit of, a little bit of overspray from painting the cylinder. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to throw a gasket on it. It's going to be fine. And that's about it. I hope it helped out. Any questions? Feel free to call me anytime or send me an email, KenO'ConnorRacing.com.